right, so it is March 8th, 2:06 p.m. with Norman doing some precision training. All right, so Norman, you chose some precision training for today. So okay, so the way the precision training works, right? I mean, you can fine tune it if you want it to be something very specific. But was there any lessons from my courses that stood out to you that you wanted to go through, or do you want me to just kind of go with the flow of the goals and the stuff that you talked about on Metafy?
Just kind of going with the flow, nothing in particular.
Okay, that works. All right, so let's talk about the goals. All right, so I want to get better overall. My decision making is terrible. My resource management is terrible. I play too defensive, my preferred style. I feel like I'm not making progress. I've been playing fighting games all my life and prefer retro titles, Third Strike, ST, Street Fighter 4, Alpha 2. But I'm trying to stay current with newer titles, but I feel like I'm falling behind. My matchup knowledge is poor, even though I watch a bunch of match videos. I'm lost, basically. Big fan of yours since the start of Street Fighter 4 through Street Fighter 5. Your Faye and Sagat were inspiring for me. I appreciate you, bro, Ham. I know we've talked for many years, so it's an honor to be able to be of service to you. So thank you very much. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate you. And so let's talk about decision making. I have a decision making. So when we talk about decision making, what do you define as making good decisions? Because you say your decision making is terrible. So what do you define as making a good decision?
I guess like how I'm using my like meter, and you know whether or not I like put myself into burnout or not. Also like I find myself like teching throws lots and then getting like shimmied or like, you know, DPing or lack thereof. So it just feels like every guess is like wrong.
Okay. So what I heard was it was not it was kind of subjective in a sense, and it was very contextual because it sounded like it was based off of conditions, right? But what makes a great decision, it's not the results, right? It's not you being right or you being, you know, or you making the correct decision that makes a decision the right decision, because you can make a decision, right? And it doesn't work out for you, but it was a great decision. That's kind of hard to grasp. Not saying you can't grasp it, but like it's very easy to see how that's confusing, because it's like, wouldn't a good decision be one that works out? No, that's actually not the case. Sometimes you can make a poor decision and be right. Sometimes you can make a great decision and be wrong. So when you want to make great decisions, we want to make great decisions because of probabilities, right? So if more often than not, if Norman is in this situation with Zaf and we play 100 matches, right, you're more likely than not going to win because of these decisions. That's what makes a great decision. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right. So sometimes there could be contradictions because it's contextual. So purposely burning yourself out wouldn't be a good decision, right? But there might be a context in which it makes sense. For example, if you meter dump to kill, right? That's a good situation, I would say, right? I think that's a great situation. Right? But another one, maybe not necessarily to kill, right? We're investing the bars and doing like 2 drive rush combos or extensions. But maybe if you burn yourself out, right? Let's say like you have a bar, you're doing a combo and you did a drive rush, you have under 3 bars left, right? But your opponent has 1 bar or less left, right? And they don't have super. If you now do a combo into drive impact, you might burn yourself out, but they are also burnt out and they're knocked down and they have no super. And you see what I'm saying? And you might be able to chip them out, right? So depending on the character, you might have a super fucked up situation like Rashid's level 2, right?
Yeah.
So it's all contextual in that sense. So to simplify everything, we want to make decisions that more often than not will favor us, right? So what that looks like, it's contextual. And the way you want to go about it, it's mainly it's the mental environment that you cultivate that will help you make good decisions. So you say you're naturally defensive, so I assume you're more risk averse as a player. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Right. So if you're more risk averse, I can see how like you try to maybe when the match calls for those moments of clutch or the moments where you have to play with like aggression, you rather play not to lose. Does that happen sometimes?
Yes.
Okay. So that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. But the thing is, we have to kind of change the way we define those situations. So that way it's a little bit easier for us to do it. Because I'm not going to tell, you know, a cat to behave like a dog or a dog to behave like a cat, right? That doesn't make sense. Like, they're going to do the things that is natural to them, right? So if it's natural for you to be defensive, I just have to maybe change the way you look at a situation. So that way you can still feel like you're in your comfort zone, but you're still pushing it and growing. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Right? Because if you look at something and it's too much challenge, I'm pretty sure you've heard me say this before. Like, if you have too much challenge, it produces anxiety. So I don't know if you felt that while you play sometimes, but like, you might get overwhelmed because it just feels like there's too much challenge and you don't know how to like manage it, or it feels like something is insurmountable, or you don't feel skilled enough to overcome this thing. So if you try to take on too much more than you can chew, it'll cause you to fucking burn out, and then you get frustrated, and that's not a good time, especially playing a game like this. These new fighting games are ruthless, you know? So everybody's doing mad damage when the round starts and stuff like that. So so when it comes to decisions, I want to watch your replays, and we are going to talk about this. We're going to talk about your decisions and how your decisions will factor into your decision making. Okay, let's see. Are there any particular matches on this list that stand out to you that you want me to watch?
No, they're all pretty much the same, I guess.
Okay, let's watch this one. Manon is kind of like a tame version of the game, so she's like a good character to practice against fundamentally, because she doesn't do the extremes of the game that well, right? She doesn't have a crazy ass drive rush or anything like that, so you can kind of practice in a more controlled manner against her, because she's not as fucking batshit crazy. Okay. So why jump back there? What was the reason for jumping back?
I just know that she kind of wants to get like possibly like a button in drive rush, or a button into like a tick or something.
Okay. So now let's look at it like this. What you're saying is very valid, so I'm not going to invalidate that, because what you're saying is on point. If you know she's going to, you know, try to do these things, you know, you want to mitigate the situation, right? And creating space is a really strong way of doing that. But here's the thing, is you did a move, right, that was Sabat kick is what, -6?
Yeah,
it's -6, right? Okay, you do a move that's -6, right? If you are in range of her mediums, she's gonna hit you out of your jump. You know that? Because your jump takes 4 frames to leave the ground. So now your jump is going to be 8 frames minimum, right? So if she does something like her crouch and medium kick, which I'm pretty sure is 8 frames, I'm gonna look into this right now. Let's see. Manon's crouching medium kick. Where is she? 8 frames. She would hit you anyways. Okay. So now, inversely, if you know she's gonna hit you, right? Then she's gonna hit you. So there's no point in jumping. If she doesn't hit you, she's gonna whiff. And then that space that you wanted, you basically just got, but you got a pocket-sized version of it right in front of you, right? Because she whiffed.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you do things like this, you have to be more proactive in a sense of forward movement, right? You do this block stun, this, right? Because she does, you know, the idea is she gets hit and you get a knockdown and then you can get started or whatever. Doesn't matter. She blocks it. It's not the end of the world. But the idea is you want to elicit responses, right? You want to see what she's doing. But when you jump back, you don't really play that game. You know, you're trying to avoid a game. Like, you have to play this game. You can't avoid this game in this game. You have to be willing to embrace this proximity. It might be discomforting because of how explosive the game is, but in order to mitigate that anxiety, you just have to understand that it's okay to get thrown. It's not a big deal. Right? If you choose how you want to lose, you'll minimize all of the mental stress that you put on yourself and you exert on yourself because you're trying to avoid everything. Like, you doing this is a sign that you're trying to like possibly avoid shit, you know? It's like, oh, I don't know if this guy's confident.
Yeah, I don't like this space at all.
Yeah, you know, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's something I was not comfortable with either. But what's helped me is the repetition, right? You want to build trust with yourself, okay? That is the ultimate thing that you need. Your discomfort is a lack of trust, right? Because if you trust something, there's no real discomfort, right? Like, if you have trust with your wife or your kids, it's like there's no discomfort with them if you have trust with them in this particular situation. When you don't have the trust, then obviously it's gonna be like I don't know, right? That's how you're kind of playing right now. So how do you gain trust? You have to do it through experimentation, right? You have to do it through experience. Norman has to get into the thick of shit, you know?
Okay.
So you have to play defense inside of this bullshit. You know? That's how you're gonna get better at it. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so let's watch. So based off of what I just saw, I assume, like, you know, if he hits you with something crazy, you're gonna start backdashing or walking backwards, or, you know, when you're unsure of yourself, you're gonna give up a lot of space. That's what I'm expecting. See? Okay, look. All right, see a lot of backwards movement, right? And I learned all of that. I was accurate off of just the first thing that you did in the set. See, so when players do this, this is for everybody in chat too. When players do that type of stuff, you can expect a defensive player, a hyper defensive player, to have the same timing with shit. Like right now, Norman doesn't really see the game. He just sees like, he's like seeing the game through a filter. He's like, I mean, this stuff has worked before. He's not really intimate with his opponent right now, which is why you got hit with the DI. Because if you were more observant, I know you have good reactions. I know you have good reactions. There's no way you don't have good reactions. Playing all these fucking fighting games, you gotta have good reactions. So you doing this is, especially after he does DI, is a sign of like, you're not really in tune with the moment, you know? And that's just because of your discomfort. But the first remedy to all of this is you have to be willing to die on your sword, bro. You have to. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Now let's see. How do you start this round? Is it the same? Okay. Nice anti-air. BC, like,
Yeah, I jumped back twice.
yeah. That I understand, because like, you know, you try to bait the super before and then he didn't do it, and then now all of a sudden he does it. But you know the difference is, okay, so when you try to do it here, I guess what, so this is like a player recognition thing, right? You didn't really establish your offense yet, right? Like your momentum wasn't anything too crazy, right? And it was the first time he really got in those two sequences right there. So I don't think he's gonna mash, especially because he's up around, right? So I would have just kept going ham until he got into the corner, because the pressure here is not that big of a deal for him yet, right? But when it became a big deal was the second time you got in, because the second time you got in, you could probably kill him. You see what I'm saying? Like you can't really, you couldn't really kill him here. But the next time you hit him, there was a big chance of you killing him right here, right? Because if now you do a drive rush combo, you can level 3 and he's dead. All right, so that's how I like to bait out reversals. Is I look at the conditions of the match and I say, if this is a moment where you can die off of a conversion, then that is when I will try to bait. Depending on the, like, I gauge the player's discipline. You know, if it's a more disciplined player, I might stretch it a little bit, maybe go an extra sequence of offense, right? But if a player seems kind of erratic, then I'm like, okay, if this is gonna kill, I'm gonna bait it right here. Because at worst, what's gonna happen? He's gonna throw me. I don't give a shit. We're mid-screen. Who cares? If he back throws me into the corner, that's a different thing, right? But here, I don't really give a shit. But so let's go back to this. So if you hit the forward medium kick here, you can get a lot more damage. You can get damn, that shows plus 12, bro. What the you could do whatever you wanted here. Yo, yeah, so you could have got the whole house, bro, the whole farm. You could have crouched fairs. You definitely got to optimize this more. So I think this kind of plays into the defensive mindset where, like, when you do something you're not sure if it's gonna work. You notice aggressive players play like they know shit's gonna work. Defensive players play like they have to make sure it's gonna work, you know. And that's kind of why maybe your hit confirm was off here. Not saying your hit confirm was off, like, because you did hit it, but your optimization, I know you could do more damage than this, and you know you could do more damage than this, right? So when you do this shit, you have to tap into that inner proactiveness and say, yo, I know this is gonna hit. There's a reason why you're doing this, right? So that way, if he blocks it, you're like, oh, he blocked it. Then you go into the next situation that you think is gonna work. You see what I'm saying? We don't do things without thinking it's gonna work. You understand? Like, why would you do this if you didn't think it's gonna work, right? Yeah. Like what would be the point? That's a part of your decision making. So that's gonna strengthen your decision making. When you make a decision, Norman, you have to be like, I'm doing this because it's gonna fucking work.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I should have committed.
Yeah, just commit. Yo, I'm telling you this right now. The difference between a your level and like an Angry Bird level, right? Or a Fudo level or whatever, is they don't have to wait for permission to confirm shit. You know what their confirmation is, bro? It's their experiences. You see what I'm saying? So players that are not at that upper echelon, they like kind of try to hit confirm things mentally. They're like, oh, is this gonna work? No, you're doing it backwards. You gotta say, this is gonna work. And then you mentally hit confirm the fact that it doesn't work. You see? So you can do the same thing. So you being defensive is not a problem. The thing is that it's like you don't have conviction when you play, even when you're on defense. You see? So it's not that you being overly defensive is the problem. It's just the core root issue exists in your play overall. And then now that we know it's a thing, you're aware of it, you can now do something about it, right? And what you do is the first thing that makes you feel uncomfortable, you do it, because it's going to teach you through experience, and experience gives you trust, and you realize, oh, it's not as scary as I think. It's okay for me to do drive rush forward medium kick and think it's going to hit, but then it doesn't hit. It's okay. It's nothing wrong with that. It's worse to think it's not going to hit. So when it does hit, you're like, fuck, right? Because you're plus anyways, right? You're plus, like, how plus are you here? Like +2 on block if it hits regular?
Yeah.
Right? So if it's like +2 regularly, and you're drive rushing into it, you're +6. You have all the time in the world to confirm if they blocked it, and then you can jab and do a true block string. Yeah. So okay. So let's see. Okay. So once you block that first one, this is not chainable, right? She can't chain this. So the second you block this, you could just jab.
Okay.
All right. She can perfect parry, yeah, sure, but like if she does that, I don't give a fuck. Okay, cool. Congratulations. Now I know that you're willing to do that. Like, that's how you have to think. You got to be willing to play your game, and then you fine tune it as you go, you know? So this is not real. You can jab this. You don't have to jump and give this up. See? You don't have to do any of that, okay? But you see, if you just stayed there and blocked and you were okay, she would have did that sweep and she would have got cooked right here. She would have got cooked right here. But because you keep giving up space, you're not in proximity. So the issue is also, right, is where you land, right? You land. So let's pretend she's still over here. Actually, let me make this thicker. Let's pretend she's still, like, you know, over here, and then you're over here. When she makes a mistake, you're in this situation where you have to still recover because you're falling towards the ground, right? So you're not in range to punish her. You're not in range to punish her. You're not in tempo to punish her, meaning that because you are using up frames to recover, you don't have the freedom to do shit. So this is another reason why those big moves like the jump back are not really ideal, okay? You have to get more comfortable playing in the fire, right? So in this situation, if you had just blocked, right? If you just block, you get a punish if she dashes or whatever, right? Also, I would have done jab here because then your jab is confirmable, right? The short, not really. So I would check with the jab. Okay. That was really good. That was really, really strong. I like that.
Cool.
Okay, so here's another thing against her specifically. Okay, when you parry, right? You know that when you parry, you can still drive reversal.
No.
Okay, so because drive parry still registers as block stun, you can still drive reversal out of it. Okay, so when you parry any of her buttons, anybody's buttons, right, and they're buttons that you know are typically drive canceled out of, look for green and then you drive reversal this. Especially against Manon. You know why? Because Manones are notorious for doing they're notorious for doing drive rush into command grab, which she does here. Excuse me, she does that here. Or they do crouching medium punch, drive rush into stand medium punch, all of which lose to drive reversal.
Okay.
Even if they do drive rush into a jab, you technically can still drive reversal it, but you just have to be so fucking on point. Otherwise, if you're off by 1 frame, they block and then you get punished. But against her and Kimberly, 99% of the time when they drive rush the first time off of a button, they will drive reversal. I mean, they will press a medium after drive rush, so it will lose to drive reversal. Okay? Like, that shit is free. So even if she does regular throw, if she does command grab, medium button, heavy button, you drive reversal off of you. And you know why this is a good decision? Can you tell me why it's a good decision? I want you to exercise your cognitive abilities. Think about it for a second. How much bar is she investing and how many bar are you investing?
Well, she only invested 2 bars and not.
She invested 2 bars?
On the drive rush.
Drive rush is 3 bars.
Oh, because she canceled it off normal.
Right. If she does raw, it's 1.
Yeah.
Right? So she invested 3 bars and drive reversal is how much bars?
2.
Exactly. So you have a net gain of 1 bar, and you have knockdown, and you have gray damage. You understand? So those are like the advantages that add up, and it goes back to what we talked about with decision making. It's all probabilities, right? I don't have to be right every time. I just have to be right more often than not. Okay? And you being right in this instance is good momentum for you because of those elements we talked about. You get a drive reversal knockdown, you can get Oki off of it. You also have gray damage, so your next attack does extra damage, right? She's losing bar because she invested 3. You only invested 2. Okay? So off of that simple fact, very strong. Especially against characters like her. You have to be careful against characters that do drive rush into lights though. But she's a character that does not really do that. She'll do it if you hit her enough with it, and then she's like, all right, fine, I'm gonna try to bait it. But they don't want to do that. Okay, so you would completely avoid that situation.
And I was even thinking after like how I would have escaped that besides like a DP or super. But I guess I wasn't even thinking of drive reverse.
Yeah, you could drive, you can DP it, which is not a bad option. Like if you're already holding the charge, that shit is really good, of course. You just have to be careful because you play a charge character. So if somebody knows you're doing that, they could drive rush and go into a low, and then it's a true block string, and then depending on the button that they cancel from, it could be a true block string and they hit you low, right? And then you lose your charge and you're getting hit low, and now they can combo. So you have to be very mindful. Like if somebody starts doing that, that's the layer 2. Like you do exactly what you just said. You just flash kick the fuck out of them, right? But the second that they start doing drive rush into low, there's a reason why they're doing it, and then that's when you're like, oh shit, okay. But the thing about lows is low attacks have more total animation than light punches or the fastest light attacks. So there's the crouching light kicks in the game are usually like a couple of frames slower, so that means your drive reversal is that much more likely to work. You see what I'm saying? So it's actually good if they start doing drive rush into low, because they're giving you extra frames to drive reversal them. You see what I'm saying? So that's good. That's great. So that's a a good thing for Guile and DJ because people want to do that against them, right? And then sure, because if they do drive rush into a true block string, but it's like a jab, you flash kick, you're gonna block anyway, so who gives a fuck? Right? I mean, you do lose your charge, so there is that, but and then you do technically have to hold the next mix until you get your charge back, but it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. It's like it's whatever. But yeah, drive reversal is very, very important. You got to start incorporating more of that for sure. Are you okay with streaming a match so I could watch?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool. So I want to give you real time. I'll be like your little guardian angel. Okay, let's go. All right. What's your focus right now?
Going ham. Getting uncomfortable.
Yeah. Just be close. Just try to be close. Okay. Nice. Come on. Yeah, there you go. Get close. Get close. Okay. Nice. Nice. Okay. Nice. Good try. Okay, so
I was walking back there.
yeah, you're giving up a lot of space. You do it in like pockets, but try to stay close, even when she hits you. This is fine. Nice. Stay close. Okay. All right, so good try. So now what I want you to do is eliminate jumping. You cannot jump and you cannot backdash. Nice. Nice. No jumping. Okay. Nice try. Ah, I could have still take. Interesting. Okay, good try. All right, so let's watch the Oh, you can keep playing? I didn't know you could keep playing. What the fuck? Oh, this is on casual, Matt. You can play him again. Play him one more time. Okay, so this time, no more walking back. You can only sit still or move forward. Okay, Norman? Win or lose.
Okay.
No more walking back. You have to block crouching. No backdash, no jump back, no nothing. Nice. No walk back. No jumping. You have to stay on the ground. No. I don't care if you're gonna shimmy. Nothing. You have to just keep moving forward. There you go. There you go. Much better. Nice. Much better. Much better. Did you see you have more influence because you're closer to him? When you're further away from him, you don't really influence anything because he doesn't feel your pressure. Forward, forward. Nice. That was good. Ooh. That was death. Ooh. Ah. Bada bing, bada boom. Nice. You see, so when you have him in like a situation like that in the corner, you could play defense there like a fucking wall because he has to approach you if you want to play like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's when you can like hyperextend the play. You can play one more time. Go ahead. Again, do not walk back. Keep moving forward. Drill this shit. This is true experience. No walking back. No jumping. Every time I say don't walk back, you jump. Yeah, there you go. Get comfortable walking forward. Nice. Nice corner carry. Nice. Awesome. Awesome. See? You see how you have to be willing to move forward, Norm. That's literally it. Now you're actually learning. Before you were trying to survive. Now you're actually learning. That's okay. Good defense. That's fine. Nice. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. Look at how much he's whiffing. Good job. Forward, forward, forward. Remember, forward doesn't mean you have to dash, Norman. You can just walk. Okay, you could have level 3 chipped.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's go. You can quit. Yeah, this is he's done. You cooked him. You cooked this shit. All right, let's go watch the first game of the set and then watch the very last game and see the contrast. But you see, like every time you're doing like you were doing block stun, your natural instinct was give up space, play at a safe range, blah blah blah, because it's fear related. It's like it's just the fear comes in a wide spectrum. It can be very obvious like fight or flight, or it can be very subtle like walking back, right? Giving up space. But as you got more and more comfortable moving forward, you were like more confident overall. It bled into your overall play. But you see here, look how much you're whiffing, how much you will just gamble, right? Remember how Norman, I was like, yo, Norman, walk forward. Every time I said that, you jumped or you dashed. Because you were thinking like, oh, okay, forward? Well, if I move forward, it's because I want to put pressure on him, right? So you're thinking like the big move, which is what most people do when they think about like landing combos and shit like that, right? They think of the easiest way of doing it, which is usually jumping, dashing, stuff like that. But no, you can just simply walk forward. Nice, good check. Okay. Okay. So what did you think of that? Who was that man? You don't recognize him. I don't know who that is.
Yeah, no. But I get a lot of matches that are like that, and then a lot of matches that are kind of the other way. But yeah, I see what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. And now let's watch the last set, the last match. So chat, you guys see it, right? Like you saw, is very passive, you know, very like letting the opponent have initiative, right? Basically, if you were playing chess, Norman, you were playing black and your opponent was playing white. You just let them always go first. And you know black has disadvantage in chess, right? So yeah, that's basically what you were doing here. And then when you went first, you would take big risks because you didn't really know other way. Because think of it, okay, pause it really quick. Think of it like this, right? Whenever you would take a whenever you would take a risk, right? It's because in the back of your head, you're like, oh, I have to take a risk because you don't. Norman doesn't want to take a risk, right, chat? Norman knows, I know, you know. He says, I'm a defensive player. I'm risk averse. Okay, so it makes sense that when you have to take a risk, or when you think you need to increase a little bit of risk, you go big or go home because you don't know the in-betweens, right? So you go to the extreme. You're like, oh, I don't know, double fireball at round start. No. That's a massive risk. So you have to learn what are the escalating levels of risk, right? So I always start with, I'm gonna screen share so you can see this drawing, my Pablo Picasso. Okay. But when we talk about risk, what are the levels of risk? Okay. Risk levels. Okay. So I would say we can break these into categories, right? We have movement. Okay. We have normals. Okay. And then we have specials. Okay. So if we were to like categorize these, okay, with movement, the from least amount of risk, okay, so we'll say from left to right, okay, from left to right, okay, is least to most risk. Okay, this is our little key. I'm gonna put this as a key. Okay. All right. So with our movement, what do you think is the least amount of risk for movement?
The least amount of risk for movement?
Yeah. What do you think is the least amount of risk for moving?
And you going left to right, going forward.
Yeah. Like walking, right?
Yeah.
You know why?
No.
Okay. This is good. I ask because I want you to practice thinking. You know what I'm saying? Of these questions, because when you think about shit like this, your brain gets privied to being. It's gonna more likely do this on its own when you're away from me. You know what I'm saying? That's just the impression. You know that'll rub off on you because you're like, oh, okay. So the reason why walking is the least amount of risk is because at any given moment you can cancel it.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? So you can walk, and then if you're scared of fireball, guess what? You can walk and block fireball, right? Think of it like this. People are afraid of let's say you're afraid of fireball, right? And you jump. You're afraid of fireball hitting you, but you're not afraid of the DP that's gonna hit you, knock you down, and do more damage? Does that make any sense? No. You can walk and block the fireball, and there's no health chip in this game unless you're in burnout. So even if you block the fireball, the thing that it so-called chips, you can regain anyways. Your drive gauge. Fireball chips your drive gauge, but you'll just get it back as long as you put somebody in pressure or hit somebody or walk forward or just let it replenish over time. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I think before, like, now thinking about it, that I'm like walking back or jumping back while like charging down back, because I'm playing DJ. So like I'm like, oh, I need to be like holding some sort of down or down back or back charge at all times. And if I'm not, then I'm not like ready to use like my tools. And that's where I was saying before, like maybe I'm not playing like the right character for like my style. Like I should be playing like a Shoto or like Sim or something where like I'm not heavily reliant on like charging. But I know like when you told me to move forward and walk forward lots, I would just have to like switch up how I'm like using my normals into my charge and stuff and like buffering, I guess.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And you know, it's so funny how something like that slipped my mind, because as soon as you said it, I was like, yeah, duh. I think I said this to Stalin, who's another student of mine, where it makes sense that you're playing a charge character. You think you're prioritizing the special moves. No, special moves, you don't need to rely on them, especially with a character like DJ. DJ is actually a motion character because he's so fucking mobile, you know? He's literally the rhythm. Listen to what he says. Look at the way he dances. He's dancing on the screen. You have to play the character with the design in mind. He is more about flow, ebb and flow, and you're playing him too stagnant. I don't think it's not that you can't play him. I think you can play DJ, especially if you like him. He can play that play style. It's just that you have to be a little bit more comfortable, you know, and that's something you can develop. So it's really a matter of, are you willing to be a little bit discomforted so you can add a whole new dimension to your Street Fighter play, or do you want to go and stay with a archetype that you are familiar and comfortable with? Neither of which is wrong. You could choose whatever you want. I'm here for you either way, but it's just something to think about.
Yeah,
you know, because I like your DJ. I could see like little spots, you know what I'm saying? When you start to like glow, it's just you have to get out of your own way, you know. And that's what we're doing here. So walking is the least amount of risk by far. Okay, you gotta walk. Okay, walk, and then I would say dash, and then the highest would be jump. Okay, so the reason why these are higher is because dash has an animation, so you can't cancel from it, right? You have to go through the whole frame, the amount of frames that your character's dashes before you can block again. Jump is similar, but the difference with jump is way laggier. It's way slower because you have to go, whoa, right? It's like this fucking arching thing. And then on top of that, your only real options are to attack from it. You can't block in it. All right, so it's the most risk. So walking is the best for mitigating risk, and it gives you the most information. So think of it like that, right? If you show a willingness to get into a range and you know, oh, if I get into this range, my opponent likes to use this button. Okay, cool. That's good to know. And then now you know, depending on when they pressed it, what button they pressed, you might be able to walk in that range, jump at them. Walk in that range, press a light punch early. Walk in the range, perfect parry. Walk in the range, DI. You see what I'm saying? Right? So now you get more creativity. You don't really have a lot of creativity when you walk back and wait for shit to happen. How can you be creative? Creativity requires a level of initiative. It's creation. What's created first in mind and then becomes tangible in the match, right? For normals, our risk would be
jabs.
Yes, perfect. Lights. All right, mediums and heavy. Okay, all right, in that order. Okay, lights, because they allow you to, you know, with and then still be able to anti-air, right, with non-invincible attacks. They allow you to maybe whiff a light and then reactionary punish the attempt that your opponent tries on you, because maybe you whiffed a light, they thought you pressed a medium or a heavy, they whiffed the button, and then now you can whiff punish because you've recovered fast enough, right? So lights are basically what we call feints. Okay, these are really strong for feints. Okay. Right. So as a defensive player, these are going to be your best friends, because this is like, you know how like magicians, they're experts at attention diversion, right? They take your attention and manipulate it, and then you don't see where they did the fucking trick, right? That's what you're basically doing with light attacks, and that's really important as a defensive player or as a zoner, is to use your lights to feint, because it looks like animations that your opponent might be looking for, like fireballs, right? So for example, DJ's fireball, right? You could whiff stand jab, and then somebody just and they just jump, not because of the animation, but maybe because of the timing. But maybe a medium, like his stand medium punch, kind of looks like he's throwing a fireball, right? He just like kind of like punches at the air. So you could use that as a feint, right? You can use different normals as feints just depending on the animation tell that it might have. Okay. But your mediums, of course, you know, you want to use those for like your footsies and for establishing maybe like control of a certain space, right? Whiff punishing. Same thing with heavies. They both share that kind of regard, but the difference is maybe heavy attacks usually have more range, but they sacrifice speed, and vice versa, right? So medium attacks might not have the range, but they'll have the speed advantage. Okay. And then you'll be able to practice all of this, Norman, as you move forward. You can't practice any of this moving backwards. You see what I'm saying? So this should incentivize you to practice walking, and then I promise you, it might be frustrating, but the more you get hit, the better you're gonna get at it, because you're gonna get hit and realize, oh, I don't die, I don't lose immediately from getting hit. It's okay to get hit. It's not the end of the world. You know, it's fine. Okay, and we have to teach ourselves that through experience. And then our specials, you know, that is, it's not really like a segment for it, but because it's very unique to the character, right? So depending on the character, like certain lights will be safer, blah 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 blah, right? So that's just a universal thing. But the idea is each of these things are unique, right? So this is unique to character, to character. Okay. So anyways, TLDR, you gotta practice moving forward, okay?
Yeah.
So you walking backwards is risky, backdashing is risky, jumping back is riskier, because you're doing all of these things and you're susceptible to getting hit low if you walk back. You know, jumping backwards is really risky because somebody could drive rush anti-air you, or they could hit you on your jump frames, or they could take space and put you in the corner. Backdash, you could get hit by drive rush. I'm pretty sure you've experienced that, right? You try to backdash and somebody drive rushes at the same time and hits you. That shit sucks,
yeah.
Right? So, but if you just walk backwards, walk forwards, right? At any point, you could just block or parry. And then while you're doing that, though, what's really important is we want you to have a focus, right? I want you, Norman, to like, what range do I want to play at? Pick a range and just practice that. That's your homework, okay? Your homework, okay. I know we have a session tomorrow, but like your homework for the remainder of the day, right, is when you play, pick a button, go training mode, find your button, like stand medium kick, right? That's a really good button, and stay at that range. Just stay at that range no matter what happens. If you knock somebody down, don't even pressure them. Just literally stay at the range. Somebody knocks you down, you get up and you fend for yourself, and until you get the knockdown or they push themselves back, and then you're at that range. Everything needs to lead to the range, because you have to practice being deliberate about your spacing, because up until now you weren't really deliberate about your spacing in a proactive sense. You were doing it from a reactionary standpoint because you were waiting for stuff to happen and then hoping to punish it. It makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let me let's watch the rest of this and continue to see the growth. Okay. Yeah, you can dry rush punish that. I mean, convert off that. Okay. You see, your anti-airs are only suffering because you're thinking of anti-airing with flash kick, right? But you're moving, so you don't have it. So you're like, that moment of that's when the jump-ins work. So when you're moving, just always think of jump as a possibility. And then even if somebody jumps and you get hit out of your anti-air back heavy kick, who gives a shit? It's better than you not doing it, because you have to train it into your brain anyways. Nice. Oh, very nice. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, you did the wrong motion. I think you did the wrong motion.
Yeah.
That's funny. Neverlane, thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. Okay. All right, so yeah, I think that's going to be the major point of leverage for your growth going forward, is moving forward, teaching yourself it's not as scary as you think, or not that it's not as scary, but you can have more confidence. Even though it's not something that you're used to, you are more than capable of doing it. Like that last round was prime example, right? But I think you just have to be more willing to die on your sword, move forward, get punched in the face repeatedly, teach yourself it's not as scary as you think, and then be deliberate about the spacings that you're fighting at. Yeah, so moving forward is important for a couple of reasons, right? It allows you to establish pressure, which ultimately allows you to influence your opponent. You can't really influence people, bro, if you don't put pressure on people. You know what I'm saying? Because like, if nobody puts pressure on you, right, you would just keep playing the same way you were playing. You understand? But because I'm here kind of putting that little pressure on you as your teacher, and you obviously somebody you trust, then you're like, okay, all right. And then you kind of kick yourself in the ass to do the thing that you know you should be doing, but you're not doing, because you're kind of going with the flow of what you already want to do, right? So yeah, when you are on walking forward, when you establish proximity to your opponent, you are doing the same thing I'm doing to you. You're forcing somebody, you're eliciting a response. You don't know what their response is, but you're making them make a decision. So even if somebody doesn't press something, you're still forcing them to make a decision, right? Which is, okay, I'm gonna not press anything. You see what I'm saying? So then now, you know, if it's like algebra, you say, oh, well, you know, mx plus b equals y. Well, I know that this is the constant, and my constant is me being close. Typically makes him do this, which usually equals y. Obviously, he's not gonna always do the thing that you want him to do, but it's just the idea that you're more often than not gonna make him do that. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's all I basically got to say. So that move forward, pick a range, stand medium kick. I suggest practice that, and practice getting hit over and over and over again while you're doing it. That's your homework. Those 3 things.
All right.
Okay. So let me know. What'd you think? How'd you feel?
Good. I could definitely be like, you're kind of oblivious to your play unless somebody's like telling you what you're doing wrong. So, you know, right away just jumping back and walking back and giving up space. It wasn't working.
You know, I don't even want to say it was wrong, because it got you a certain level of success. You know, I mean, look at you. You're a master rank player. You've played multiple titles. You're OG, right? So it got you success. And it still has its place in this game. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying to eliminate it entirely, but just to subvert it to a more optimal style of play, so that way you can incorporate the 2 down the road. You know what I'm saying? So this is like your training arc of working on a different style of airbending, you know, or you went from firebending to now earthbending. You see what I'm saying? So like that's what we're doing. So you're still gonna have your style of play. I'm never gonna take that away from you, right? But it's just like right now, hey, let's work on this, and then we could bring it together, and now you know how to play in both directions. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So cool. So what were your 3 favorite things, bro? Tell me that you learned today.
I guess like being just like a different perspective of like why I was doing stuff, and then I guess starting with the replay is like huge, because you know, a lot of times you just want to like go in and get the reps in and not really like learn and how to fix your mistakes. So yeah, and then the shadowing is like huge. Probably I wish everybody had a coach behind them telling them what to do.
Okay, cool. Bet. Well, thank you, Norman. I appreciate it as always. I'm gonna stop the recording. I'm gonna upload that, and then I will send it to you when it's done. All right, Broham?
All right.
All right. So tomorrow I'll meet up with you. What is it? 2 o'clock?
Yeah.
All right, Broham. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No worries.
All right. Peace.